So let's put our drawing forms to use. We're going to draw a character, and you'll probably recognize it. So we're going to draw a cube, but we're going to curve it a little bit. So by learning how to draw forms, you can learn how to draw anything, essentially. Even some of your favorite cartoon characters. Draw some big circles here. There's kind of a triangle here. And then there's the nose. And we have part of the cheek kind of coming into the eye here. So I'm going to go back and I'll wave the edge here. go in and add some of the details. And then let's put our character in a scene. I'm gonna put him in a park with maybe a tree in the background. Okay. So by drawing this, now we can start playing with our values. Since this character is yellow, he's going to be a light value. So I'm going to take my pencil and hold it in the back. And I'll just give it a light value throughout everywhere that's the body. Because the only thing that should be pure white is the shirt, the teeth, and the eyeballs. So we want to give this a nice light value, including in the arms and the legs. Now, I want to decide where my light source is coming from, so maybe the light is coming from over here this way, so the front of him is lighter, so the side we can make it darker. And darken up my circles here. Now, because it's on this side, my circle shouldn't be the same darkness as the sides because there's a shadow on this side. So I'm going to make sure the value here is a little bit lighter than here. The inside of the mouth tends to be darker, so I'm gonna get a darker value inside here. So when you're placing your values in an artwork, you're trying to decide what is light and what is dark. So if the body is light, then the inside of this needs to be darker to make it stand out, especially because the teeth are white as well. And that's how we're gonna see the edges of things. Now the tongue tends to be pink, so it needs to be darker than the value of the yellow, but it needs to be lighter than the back of the mouth. So I'm gonna just give this a medium value. The shirt I can leave white, except the side of it's going to have some shadow, and since the arm is on the shadow side, I'm going to shadow this one too. It should probably be lighter than the side of the square, which means I'm probably going to make this darker to make it stand out more. Darken up my circles a little bit more. His pants tend to be brown, And the little belt tends to be a lot darker, so I'm just going to darken that up first. And again, the side is darker than the front, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to darken this up so that we have the shadow on the side. I'm going to give the tie just a light value. And then the shoes are really dark. They're black, so I can go ahead and just make those really dark. Okay, so once you have this part, then you have to decide what are the other values around here. So if it's daytime, then this needs to be lighter or darker than your character. This needs to be lighter or darker than your character. This needs to be lighter or darker. So if you're doing a nighttime scene, that's easy because then this gets darker. And these are all darker values. So this is where you have to play around with your values and what you want to do. Like, is it daylight? Is it nighttime? So first off, this is grass, so that's going to be definitely a darker value than this. So means I might make the pants a little bit darker. Which means I'll have to make the shadow darker. And then this way, when I'm drawing the grass, I can do a value lighter than the pants, but still darker than the rest of the body. And what should happen is that if I'm doing this correctly, my outlines should start disappearing so that this value is creating an edge next to that lighter value. The tree trunk will probably be darker than the grass because that tends to be a brown. So I can go in there and make that a darker value. And the key to this is making sure that no two values that are next to each other are exactly the same. Because if they're exactly the same or too close to one another, then one disappears into the other. And we want to make sure each part is separate. Like I want to make sure the tree leaves, the leafy part of the tree is lighter or darker than this, not equal or the same. Because if they are, they, again, it disappears. So I want to make sure I can do the same value as the grass here. I can get a little bit darker. I can get a little bit lighter. And nothing should be pure white unless it is pure white, like the white of the eyes, the teeth. A sky isn't going to be white because the sky is technically blue. So there should be a very light value in the background, or it might be a value that is, it could be a little bit darker because maybe it's a deep blue sky. But whatever it is, see, like I want to make sure my value separates from this. So like the sponge is, the sky color, that value that I'm doing is too close to the actual sponge. So maybe I darken this up just a little bit. So you're going to choose a cartoon character that you want to draw, and you're going to draw 2 scenes. You're going to do a nighttime scene, the same character, same pose. You'll do one in a daytime scene, so this would be my daytime scene. And you're going to, you can put it in, you can do something as simple as this, as a little like field with your tree. And then you're also going to do a nighttime scene. So this way you can practice playing around with different values. Making some things lighter, some things darker, and really focusing on shading, giving everything a value. So again, everything should have a value. And if you notice, like as I'm shading things, I'm going back and I'm making things darker because I'm seeing like, oh, they're starting to disappear. So I'm gonna go back and make certain things darker to stand out again. So I might make the grass a little bit darker on this side. Or maybe I just make the grass darker in general so that it stands out against the side here of the character. So I want the character to stand out, and if my character starts to disappear, then the values around it are too similar. So right now my character would technically disappear into the background. So I might want to consider making some of these slightly darker. And then I also want to make sure my edges are nice and clean. So I want to be careful about shading past my objects so that I have nice clean edges. When you shade over everything, it blurs your edge. So like the edge of the pants here is getting lost, so I'm gonna clean that up a bit. So it helps the shade like right next to the line and then bring out, and then shade the rest of the values out. So carefully shade right next to the line. The only thing you want to be careful is like you tend to get a little bit darker when you're shading right next to the line. So you want to make sure that value moves out and is spread out along everything else. So right now I have these darker values around here, and I need to just even out this value by spreading it around. But now you can see a bigger difference between like this side. So this side definitely different. This side, if I cover this, these are still two very similar in values. So I want to go in and just shade next to my edge. And then move my way out. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. So you'll do a daytime scene. You'll want to include the bottom too, right? So I'm not done with this. So this I might make darker, or I might even make a little bit lighter. But it's just playing around with values and making sure you have light next to dark, next to medium values to help things stand out differently. Okay?